Look at that wild stallion right there. Hi, guys. I was at a friend's house last night, and he was going through this playlist of music, and we had a conversation that I'm sure you all have had at one time or another, and that is which decade was the best, and why was it the 80s? And, there are not enough hours in the day to go over all the reasons, but one of them is the art that started to emerge out of early personal computers. And it was art that was necessitated by the limitations of those computers. They could only play so many notes, they could only display so many colors. And so out of those limitations, people created some really amazing stuff. And if you're not familiar with ANSI art, there's a really cool website here, 16 Colors, where you can browse some of this stuff and just see how creative people were with those limitations. And I've thought about that a lot, that a lot of creativity is inspired by limitations. And the opposite is also true. If you don't have any limitations, you often have this paradox of choice, where you can do anything, so you don't do anything. Whereas when you have limitations, even if they are artificial limitations, they can often trigger the creativity out of you and make you want to find ways to test the limits of those limitations. So that's the main reason I started working on this new project that I'm going to show off today. And it's called ANSIWAVE. And the first thing you need to know about ANSIWAVE is I need a mouse pad. Hold on. I'm going to use my crockpot manual as a... No, I'm not. That actually made it worse. Let's try this. There we go. Smooth as butter. So, first thing you need to know about this is it's a terminal program. So you got to run it in your terminal, and it runs on everything. I'm demoing it here on a Mac, but you can also run it on Windows. You can run it on Linux. You can even run it in good old cmd.exe, believe it or not. So this is an ANSIWAVE. An ANSIWAVE is a combination of ANSI art and MIDI music in one single file. And this ANSI is Luke and Yoda, and it was made by this guy. So I brought his artwork into ANSIWAVE, and then I added some music. Check this out. Isn't that cool? So ANSIWAVE is both an ANSI art editor and basically a MIDI music IDE. You can think of it like. So the drawing part is pretty straightforward. You go into draw mode. You can choose a foreground color. You can right click to choose background color, or you can do like I have a bunch of keyboard commands that you can learn. And then these are the brushes. So you got like the solid block, and then you got these like dithering blocks here. So you can just choose one and start drawing. And choose a different color like that. And this looks like garbage, but you get the idea. You got these little blocky thingies. That's the technical term, blocky thingy. And this one. So these are the blocks that they used back then that were part of the extended ASCII character set, and you just use them as brushes here. So obviously this is ruining the piece, so you can undo. Everything here basically has a keyboard shortcut, so it's not required to use the mouse, but if you're painting, you probably want to use the mouse. So that's how you draw. It's pretty straightforward. It doesn't have the bells and whistles of other ANSI art editors, but it gets the job done. And then you can go into write mode, and that's how you can create your music. ANSIWAVE has a built-in scripting language, which you can learn in like 10 minutes. You know, it's so basic, but it's very terse. That's the main thing. And it's designed to embed really nicely inside of a file that has a lot of other stuff, like block characters. So, you know, one really neat thing about the editor here is that you can play an individual line. This is really important while you're creating your music, right? Because you don't want to go through the whole song every time. So you can just click this this button on the left, or if your cursor is there, you just hit tab. So you can imagine as you're developing your music, this helps you iterate really quickly. You type in a note, you hit tab, and it doesn't sound quite right. So you change it, hit tab again. It's a very, very fast editing experience. So I'm going to show that actually in a different file here. Just with fewer distractions. I got a file with the same song, but this time it's just text. Right, so you can specify the instrument like that, or you can do it like I did in the previous file, where I just say it once at the top, and then you just have this generic like play command, and it will just use whatever instrument you set. So that's a little bit more terse. You can do whatever way you want. So, and you'll notice, by the way, as I'm typing, you can see there's a little exclamation point there. So that's because there's an error. And now if I hit tab or click on the icon, it takes me to this error screen where it says command not found. So it gives you really fast feedback, right? If you type something and it's incorrect, you see the inline error right away, and you can correct it. And it also works like if I type the wrong note, boom, you know, it's like it doesn't know what BX is, right? So it's a very interactive editing experience to make your music. I'm not going to go over everything because I have a tutorial that I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in, so you guys better read it, especially because this tutorial is written in the form of a short story. So I decided I couldn't be bothered to write a normal dry tutorial, so there's a little short story here with a cool ending, so you have to read it. And if you scroll past the tutorial, there's also a glossary of all of the instruments that are supported in MIDI. So you can just go to one. Let's see that baritone sax. Oh, so romantic. Let's see, you got a violin. All right, and you know, you got your standard guitar and all this other stuff, and organ. So, you know, once you get an idea of what you want to use, you can go into here. And again, this will be more of a global setting to do instrument piano, but I can also do something like, you know, violin. Let's do that organ actually. And you can just hear it immediately. You can also do chords. A chord is just notes with commas in between. So whereas if I didn't have the commas, it would sound like this. It would treat them as individual notes. So so that's how you make a chord. The other cool thing is, so these commas, they let you make a chord. They also let you join lines together. So if you want to play, let's say, two different instruments at once, what would be an example? For now, I'm just going to copy this line, and I don't know, I'll have the organ and the piano playing the same thing at the same time. So I do that by doing slash comma. This is like the comma command. And what it does is it takes the line above it and below it and it plays them at the same time. Isn't that cool? So you can create pieces with multiple instruments and have them play at the same time. I think there's an example of that here. Yeah, like in the tutorial here, I have two banjos. So you can mess around with that. Again, I'm not going to go over everything about the language, but it's stupid simple. You can figure it out. And then if you just want to use it as a MIDI music creator, that's fine. You don't need to do ANSI art. But there's a lot of cool ANSI art out there that you can just repurpose. I'll get into that a little bit later. But first, let's look at some more ANSI waves, guys. Let's see. This one is called Undone and Sorrow. This actually originally was a banjo piece by Ola Belle Reed. And it's a beautiful and very sad song. And let me just play it real quick because it doesn't take too long. So you can see as it's playing, the cursor follows the music. And so that's really nice for these longer songs. You can keep track of where it is. And also you can see I have the lyrics there. So you can mix your music with normal text and ANSI art. And it's perfectly fine. You don't need code blocks. You don't need delimiters anywhere. It's smart enough to know, okay, this is code, this is not code. And you can just mix it arbitrarily. So that's something I really wanted. You know, I want to be able to just embed my code anywhere. So that's also an ANSI made by somebody else. And I'll just show you one more here, because I always got to do this one. My little Final Fantasy music. So this is a longer piece and a very cool ANSI that somebody made. And I'm not going to play the whole thing because it'll take too long, but let's just play a little bit. So, yeah, this is just another example, but there's so much more here besides just playing one instrument. You can make really complex pieces if you want to. So I had this functionality already done a while ago, but I felt like something was missing. You know, like I can make a little ANSI wave. Maybe I can share the file online or something. But I was trying to think more about, well, how do you share this with others and make it really nice to you know, at least to view. And I came up with an idea. So let me open, I don't know, let's open the Star Wars one. So there's a little tab here called Publish, and there's a button there, Copy Link, and it allows you to copy a link that you can use to share it. And Uh, well, you're going to notice when you look at it, there's something a little weird about this link, and that is it's freaking huge. uh, so this link right here that you're looking at, I could just double click it. The reason why it's so big is because it contains the entire ANSIWAVE inside of the link. And if I open up my browser here and I paste it, there you go. So, so how does this work? Well, I could have made a normal website where you upload your ANSIWAVE and then I display it like this, but I didn't want to build a back end. This is a hobby project. I don't want to have a complicated back end with user accounts and a database. So instead, what I made was a static website. ANSIWAVE.net has no backend. All it is an HTML file with some JavaScript, and it reads the data out of the URL, and it parses it, and it displays it. So what you're looking at here came entirely from the URL. It did not upload it to my server at all. There's no database anywhere. So there are upsides and downsides to this. The upside is if you have the link to an ANSIWAVE, you already have the ANSIWAVE. And that's pretty nice because it means if I shut down my website for some reason, as long as you have that link, you still have it. In fact, you can open it in the client. You can go the other direction. Check this out. So if I just type ANSIWAVE and then I actually paste the entire link, check this out. Look at that. It just parsed it out of the URL and then opened it in read-only mode here. And then, you know, everything works exactly the same. So, so I really like this, even though the obvious downside is it's a big URL and it can be difficult to share. In fact, check this out. I was actually worried if this would even work, but if I open up Aries theme, so this is a pretty big one, right? So I'm just going to copy this puppy and paste it. And it actually worked. This is a really, really big URL, and somehow Firefox, and I think Chrome also will work. Yeah, but you really are testing the limits of web browsers when you do this. For example, I noticed if you try to copy it again from the URL bar, sometimes it seems to not get the whole thing. I don't think the Chrome and Firefox engineers were expecting people to abuse their browser like this, but yeah, that was read entirely from the URL. And I don't know, I think this will be a fun way to share it if you can. I would be surprised if Twitter would let you share a URL that big, but maybe we can find a workaround, you know, URL shortener or something like that. But for now, it was the easy solution for me because, like I said, I don't want to deal with a back end and all that mess. I just want to let you share it. So that's the story as far as sharing. There are a couple other cool things you can do, like so if I take that Star Wars ANSI, I can actually synthesize it into a WAV file. So I'm just going to type Star Wars.wave. Check this out. So it instantly turned it into a WAV file. Oh, not frickin' iTunes. Oh, I can just play it right here? Cool. Right, so you can create you can just create a normal WAV file with your from an ANSI that way. So I'm trying to think if I've forgotten anything. Yeah, actually, I did forget one thing. So you saw the ANSIs that I showed you were all made by somebody else because, you know, I don't have the artistic ability to make something like the the Aries theme ANSI. Um, and also, I mean, there's a lot of beautiful art that people made that no one is looking at right now. You know, you can, unless you go on 16 colors. And so I started thinking about how can I make that available, because you know, these files that people made, where is it? Uh, they're not that easy to view these days unless you have you know, an ANSI art viewer. And the reason why is because they were encoded in this older encoding called CP437, sometimes called extended ANSI. And I got an example file here. Now if I just try to cat this file, they usually end in .ans. If I just cat it into my terminal, you can see it doesn't really look right. And that's because terminals by default do not expect that encoding. They expect Unicode, right? Well, ANSIWAVE is just Unicode. That's all it is. It encodes all of your artwork as Unicode. And so I have a built-in converter. So if you write ANSIWAVE and then you give it an ANS file, you can just do give it a file name, hello.ansiwave. And then you also have to tell it the column width, because that's really important, because some ANSIs have different column widths, like, you know, number of columns, but it's usually 80. And then I just hit enter, and now let's look at what I created. See the difference? So now that it's encoded with Unicode, it looks fine in the terminal. And of course, I can open it now in ANSIWAVE. So I can do like that. And so this is how I would start, you know, working on an ANSIWAVE if I wanted to use someone else's work. Of course, you should always maintain attribution. That's really important, I gather, for the ANSI community. And usually they put attribution at the bottom, but I also like to add a link so you can see the original. And yeah, so this is such a cool little work of art. Now, if you actually want to write text on here, you'll notice if I just start typing piano, well, it's screwing it up, right? It's pushing everything to the right. So if you just want to overwrite on top of it, you can just use insert mode. Usually for PC keyboards, you got an insert key, but you can also do Control T. And now I'm in insert mode. And now if I write piano, you can see it's overwriting on top rather than pushing the pixels to the right. So, and you can still like color it in. If I go into draw mode here, I don't know, let's do like background like that. You can see like I can color it in all sorts of ways. So you can do all kinds of fun things like that. But again, if you don't want to mess with the ANSI stuff, you just want to make music, of course you can do that too. But I don't know, there's something, for me, there's something magical about the combination of the two, and being able to embed the code inside of the work of art. I don't know, it's completely impractical, it makes no sense, but I love it. I don't know, I can't explain it, guys, can't explain it. So yeah, that's how you can repurpose old ANSIs in a modern terminal, and you know, maybe breathe new life into it. Unfortunately, right now, something like this, I mean, this looks a lot better in the original form, wherever the original, I think I have it somewhere, but anyway, the original looked better, and the reason why is because right now ANSIWAVE, and not just ANSIWAVE, but a lot of terminals only support 8 colors and not 16 colors, and so that's why you got like this reddish color instead of the original, which looked better. So I don't know. I'll try to work around that at some point, but it's not just a limitation in ANSIWAVE. Like a lot of terminals only support 8 colors, so um, it has to do with your terminal emulator. So yeah, so that's it. I got my little GitHub here, of course, and you know, you can build it. I got some pre-built binaries here that you can use. And I'll just leave you with how I started. Okay, I know a lot of people think this is about nostalgia, and maybe it's a little bit about nostalgia, but that's not the only reason for this. I mean, first of all, I'm not really old enough to remember the BBS days, because by the time I was old enough, the web already existed and BBSs were were on the downturn. It's not completely about nostalgia. It's more than that. It's what I mentioned before. It's the fact that limitations, even artificial limitations, inspire creativity. And I think, you know, the very strict limitations of ANSI art and MIDI music can have a lot of potential to inspire creativity, and you know, make people think out of the box to come up with new ways to stretch those limitations to their limits. I don't know how to say that. So I hope you come up with something cool with it. I have not yet because I've been too busy building it. But I want to see your ANSI waves. I don't know how you're going to share it. I made a little subreddit. Where is it? Right here, which is empty right now. And oh my God, I hate the new Reddit design. It's so ugly. But maybe you can share it on there. I don't know. I'm not sure if they have a length limit on the URLs, but anyway, at least try it out and let me know what you think. File bugs, all that good stuff. Yeah, that's all I got. I hope you liked it. If not, then screw you.